video. Do well to be in a very professional background, or you can change your background and also mute your mic as well. And at the end of the section, we'll be having time for question and answer. If you want to ask a question, you can do well to share it on the chat box, or you can raise your hand. Either way, we'll still attend to your question. Then we'll also be sharing a survey for some of us that would like to get the slides and the recording for this section. You can do well to fill the survey so you can get slides and recording. So right now, I'll be handing over to Ayobel, our moderator, to continue the section. Thank you so much. And I believe we are going to have a very great session today. Ayo, please, you can take over now.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Rome Business School Nigeria Leadership Development Program with the topic Developing Communication Plan Aligned with Organizational Goals. My name is Belle Obaseki. I'm a communication specialist with Nersol PLC, and it's my pleasure to moderate today's event. This event brings top personalities from prestigious industries and the arts to Rome Business School so that our community can hear and learn from. I'm excited about today's program, and I'm sure you are as well. But today we have a special guest, and the person of Mrs. Mamu Okoloko, who will be speaking to us on the topic, Developing Communication Plan Aligned with Organizational Goals. So I'll go through a brief bio of our speaker. Mamu Okoloko is a seasoned professional with extensive experience in human resources consulting. Mamu is dedicated to revolutionizing workplaces through strategic HR interventions and aligning organizational goals with comprehensive HR strategies. With a specialization in talent acquisition, employee development, and HR policy design, she has a proven track record of strategically guiding diverse companies through complex HR challenges from startups to established enterprises, fostering sustainable growth. Mamu's career is characterized by a fervent commitment to enhancing organizational effectiveness through people-centric approaches. She has been instrumental in optimizing recruitment processes, implementing robust performance management systems, and creating a culture of inclusivity and innovation within various public and private sectors of the organization. Additionally, Mamu is actively involved in staying abreast of HR trends and best practices, with valuable insights and notable presence as a speaker at conferences and workshops on pertinent topics such as leadership development and workplace diversity. So without much ado, I'll hand over to our special guest, Mamu Okoloko, to take over and brief us more on the topic. So over to you, Mamu.
So much. Thank you so much, Ayobel. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to also be able to deliver this session. So we'll just go straight into it because of time. Who's going to be handling the slides?
I believe the host will be handling the slides. Sarah should.
So slide 1, please. Thank you. Okay. We're talking about first of all, the topic of this session is developing strategic communications. A strategic communications plan, aligning it with the organizational goals. Now we move to slide 1, which says understanding organizational goals. Identify core objectives. Start by familiarizing yourself with the organization's mission, vision, and strategic plan to understand its short-term and long-term objectives. Align communication strategies. map out communication efforts, can directly support each strategic objective and ensure that every message reinforces the organizational goals. Prioritize goals, identify critical goals, and allocate resources to communication initiatives that support high priority objectives efficiently. Now on this slide, before we can align our communication goals with organizational objectives, we need to identify and define them clearly. We have to start by understanding the company's mission and vision and strategic objectives. Basically, where is the company headed? We need to understand that as an organization, as a team, members of a team in an organization, to be able to know where the company is headed. Then identify how communication goals can support these. This might mean setting objectives such as improving internal information flow, enhancing brand reputation, or increasing stakeholder engagement. Ensure your goals are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. That is using the SMART technique to facilitate effective tracking and alignment. So we can move to the next slide now. Okay, now before we can even, while we're doing our planning of this, while we're planning our communication, we need to assess the communication we already have at hand in the organization to know what is working and what is not working, what we need to improve on or what we need to change. That's assessing needs is one critical point in actually planning our communication process. Now we move to the audience analysis, identifying our audience. Sorry, I'm reading the slide from another tab of mine. 1 second. Okay. So we have identify key stakeholders, create a stakeholder map that includes employees, customers, investors, media, and the community, and understand their expectation and information needs. We also have understand audience needs, which is conduct research and surveys to gather data on audience preferences, media consumption habits, and communication preferences, developing detailed personas representing different audience segments. So basically, what we're talking about here is looking at who are our audience. We have who is our target audience? Who are we trying to send information out to? We need to know our audience. We need to know what demographic. We need to know the exact put them into stakeholders. It's like planning a gathering, creating a guest list that includes employees, customers, investors, media, the community as a whole. It is crucial in understanding their expectations and aligning communication efforts accordingly. If we don't do an in-depth research on audience preference, learning about their taste buds and tailoring each, we won't be able to tailor our communication to fit its purpose. So it's similar to tailoring clothing to fit different body types, ensuring that message fits each segment perfectly, while ensuring that the message is not diluted in the process. We can move to the next slide now. Okay, so this is, apologies, I'm reading the slides from another. Okay, so we have constructing key messages. Develop core messages, create a set clear of concise and compelling core message that conveys the essence of the organization's goals, and test them with a small segment of the audience. Consistency is key. Establish a style guide to ensure message consistency across all communication channels, and train all communicators within the organization on these core messages. Okay, so here we were basically talking about crafting our message. In the second slide, we already spoke about identifying who our audience is, so that we can tailor our messages to, accordingly. Now, we have to craft messages. It's like writing a captivating story with a clear plot, ensuring that these messages get to the right customer and they understand it clearly. Now, establishing a style guide for message consistency. So imagine we have, we're trying to send out communication or information about a particular product, where our audience are, people, we have demographics of people that can't speak English properly, or, like the unskilled workers, we have professionals, we have the Gen Zs, for instance, we have children as well. We want to be able to craft clear messages that will reach all our audience, but at the end of the day, will not get our message diluted. It will all get across to all the stakeholders and be of the same consistency. Basically, like imagine like you're trying to ensure a consistent quality of a product. You need to ensure that even if you're giving the message out to the children or the market sellers, or or the older people, the message still remains the same, no matter the language you're using. But we need to also emphasize and focus on the benefits that and values that our information is being sent out, so it can resonate with our customers. Can we move to the next slide, please? Thank you. Okay, so we have, I can't read when it's so close, so I have to take it far. So we have choosing communication channels. Select appropriate channels. Choose channels that target audience uses most frequently, and use a mix of channels to effectively reach different audience segments. We also have multi-channel approach. Develop integrated communication campaigns that use multiple channels to reinforce messages and create a coherent message. Evaluate channel effectiveness. Track and analyze metrics such as engagement rates, and be willing to adjust channel strategies based on performance data. Okay, what are we talking about here? Choosing channels that target audience uses. Now, much like buttressing what the third slide says, we need to be able to know exactly what channel will resonate with our target audience. So if we're speaking to our audience, like maybe the younger generation, for instance, we know that getting them through social media like Facebook or Instagram will be able to catch their attention, because we know that they're always on those platforms. Social media like LinkedIn, Instagram, all of that will be able to catch them. Now, when we're trying to target the older generation. We're looking at print media, we're looking at, the news, to be able to send those information. This is how we'll reach these target audience. Now, when we come to selecting our appropriate channels, we also have to look at the language they speak. Now, when we're sending these messages to the younger generation, we have to use the language they understand. So when that message is being crafted, we craft it according to probably the slangs they use, or however it is, the message will resonate better with them, so that we are sure that their message is being effectively communicated. Now, a multi-level approach, using multi-level, multi-channel approach is basically like casting a wide net in the fish, a wide net in the fishing in the stream. You're trying to reach different audience segments effectively and increase your chances of success. So you can now go into social media, mainstream, and all of that, even to flyers, word of mouth, just to ensure that you're casting a wider net to reach, to have a wider reach of audience to whatever product or information you're trying to pass across. Evaluate channel effectiveness. This is tracking, analyzing metrics to adjust channels based on performance data. This is like fine-tuning, ensuring that each message or each note harmonizes perfectly in all the overall composition of, a musical instrument. That's just basically what it's trying to say. You have to be able to fine-tune, evaluate all of the effectiveness of the channels you have used to ensure that communication that was sent out, was sent out properly, timely, and they were able to make impact. Can we move to the next slide, please? Implementing the plan. Implementing the plan. Are we there? Okay. Develop a timeline. Create a detailed timeline for all communication activities and set clear milestones and deadlines to keep the plan on track. Assign responsibilities. Clearly define roles and responsibilities within the communications team and use collaboration tools to ensure a seamless coordination and execution. Allocate resources. Allocate a budget for communication activities and ensure that sufficient personnel and technological resources are available to execute the plan effectively. Okay, so obviously we're trying to achieve, like I earlier said, we need to be able to use the SMART map. So in ensuring that, we need to be able to develop a timeline while we are disseminating or planning our communications plan, or rather making up a communications plan. We need to set out what kind of information we're setting out, what time are we going to send this information out. All that needs to be planned to ensure that we're not dropping the ball and we're following the right time and we can track the processes as they go. We also need to have teams assign responsibilities and ensure that they all know what their roles are. Clearly defining roles and responsibilities within the communications team is like delegating tasks in team projects, ensuring that each team member contributes based on their strengths and expertise. For allocating resources, we need to ensure that we're providing the right adequate manpower, adequate, like a budget reserved for this particular venture, so that at the end of the day, there won't be any issues of, the success will be achieved at the end of the day. There won't be any issues of, okay, we were asked to do this at what time, and we weren't given the tools to work with. A budget should always be put in place while planning communications, so that every necessary supplies and manpower would have, there will be a successful adventure to it. Can we move to the next slide, please? Okay. So we have monitoring, setting metrics and KPIs, gathering feedback through various methods while continually improving communication strategies, conducting regular performance evaluations and being ready to adjust strategies based on performance data and feedback. Okay, so here we're talking about setting KPIs. For one to even delve in, or rather for one to even go into such a venture, right, while planning communication strategy, you need to be, after implementation, you need to actually see if it worked. If your communications plan did not work, you need to know. So by doing this, you have to use different methods like surveys, social media monitoring, direct interactions, word of mouth, to gather feedback. For instance, after launching a marketing campaign, you have to conduct a survey to collect feedback from your audience on their perceptions and preferences, and continuously enhance communication strategies. So that's based on the feedback you receive. You have to keep tweaking and saying, like, for example, if feedback shows that customers prefer visual content over written content, you will know from the surveys. And then you can adjust your communication strategy to include more videos and infographics, for instance. It depends on what you get from feedback. So whatever you get from feedback is what you use to tweak, and either you change your mode of communication to see which one, at the end of the day, is basically which one is more effective for you, which one is gaining more traction, which one is successful. So you improve on that and focus more on those areas. While doing so, be ready to ensure that you're yielding the desired results, considering. So now, with this, can you hear me? Hello? I think my power went out.
We can.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, good. Okay, I thought my power went out. Sorry. Nigeria of today. Okay, so yeah, where was I? Yeah, like I said, while doing so, we have to be ready to modify, strategies based on performance and feedback. If the data shows that a particular communication channel is not yielding the desired results, then we consider reallocating resources to a more effective channel, which we would have gathered from this. Now, while KPI is often used, often used, or rather often seen as a measure to measure goals, focusing solely on KPIs may actually be an issue sometimes. It depends on what kind of communication we're sending out. because there are instances where critical areas cannot be measured by KPIs, or rather we could miss out on some areas where KPIs are actually, ignored. For instance, how do we gauge communication like sent via maybe a Facebook post? So what we use to measure that is the metrics data we get from impressions, likes, reactions. Now, that could just be, like a stroke of luck, at that particular time. It could just be a situation whereby maybe the algorithm, just boosts the post visibility, and somehow, it gained a lot of traction. And then, one would think they have been successful in that area. But what is more essential, I would say, is to focus on the value and content that you're delivering. If you're able to maintain the consistency of value that you offer to the right target audience, then you can be sure that your communication objectives will be adhered, or rather will be achieved eventually. Can we move to the next slide, please? Crisis management. Now, this is a very, very important topic. It is important to identify potential crisis scenarios and create customized communication plans for each scenario. Establishing a crisis communications team with well-defined roles and responsibilities is crucial. Additionally, developing quick, accurate, and transparent communication protocols during crisis helps to maintain audience trust. Okay, what we are saying here is, I mean, the title already gives it away. Now, there are instances where we send out information, or rather communication, and it sends the wrong signal, which we didn't plan for. What we should already, from the beginning of our plan, have a team for crisis management. Now, this team, right, will be set up to identify potential crisis scenarios and create customized communications plans for each of these scenarios. Give an instance where you send out an information, and then you already have an uproar of people because they're getting the wrong message or the wrong signal. Maybe what you intended to send out was not the right message. I mean, there could be different scenarios. It could be, a communications plan for a product recall scenario. One has to outline the steps to be taken, the key messages to be communicated to customers and the public. They have to establish a crisis communication team with defined roles and responsibilities. Now, this team will be responsible for media relations, internal communications, social media management during a crisis. So it's not a case of where the issue has happened and there's silence from the organization. It will leave a lot of room for speculations from the audience. People will start carrying rumors. People will start saying, oh, the silence has been too much. These people are not even addressing this issue, things like that. So when you're planning your communication strategy, you should also already have a team and the kind of information that should go out, at what time it should go out. It has to be developed quick, accurate, and transparent. You have to have these communication protocols during crisis to maintain audience trust. Establishing a clear escalation procedure and approval process to ensure that accurate information is communicated to the public in a timely manner. It is very, very critical. I think we can move on to the next slide. Continuous improvement. Stay updated on industry trends and best practices. Analyze competitors' strategies. Analyze competitor strategies. Encourage training and development. Foster knowledge sharing. Create feedback loops, for continuous improvement and innovation. Okay, staying updated to industry trends. What do we mean by that? For example, you know, one has to stay updated by attending industry webinars, for instance, conferences, all these, you know, to ensure that you learn about the latest communication tools and techniques, regularly analyzing competitors' communication strategies to identify opportunities and threats, to help you monitor your competitors' social media activities and content to understand how their messaging and, you know, what their engagement strategies are, what they're doing, what you can use in your own communication strategy to see if it will work better for you, if you can tweak yours, if you can modify, and all of that. And for the encouraging ongoing training, that one is a given. And so by staying up to, that's like staying up to date with, it's just like staying up to date with industry trends and best practices. You have to keep training the communications team to ensure they're up to date with their skills. Provide access to online courses, workshops to help them, I mean, the team members in your organization improve in their writing skills, their, you know, speaking, design, even digital marketing skills. However it is, they will enable them, you know, to be at the top of their game when they need to send out information. You also need to foster like a culture of knowledge sharing within the organization, you know, to leverage collective expertise. Now, team, I mean, most of like, let me use, for example, where I used to work about maybe 3 or 4 years ago. So we had, I ensured to, I noticed when I joined the organization, I noticed that most of this, the employees rather, if you call the admin person, oh, what do we do in this organization? They'll tell you, I don't know, they're just there to, you know, do their work, get their job done and, you know, collect their salary, and that's the end. If you even ask does this maybe the technical solutions department do, or what's if you're asking an admin person, for instance, what does the technical solutions department do, or what does the systems department, or, you know, they would still tell you they don't know. So what I came up with was I came up with a team meeting, right? We had like every 2 weeks, we had this regular team meetings where members of, you know, each team can share, you know, their successful strategies and learn from each other's experience, especially what they're doing in their department. So now the technical solutions this week can come and, you know, let the rest of the organization know exactly what they do and how they go about their business, and, you know, what they're trying to, what their contribution is, you know, in that particular department. So that way it was, I mean, when we continued, you know, conducting such regular meetings, and it's helped the whole overall organization to know more about what each person, I mean, with each, the contributions of each of the team members in the organization, and also help them, you know, to feel as one, you know, it makes them feel like they are part of the organization and not just a detached part of it. Now, creating feedback loops for continuous improvement of communication strategies is to basically set up set up a system, you know, where employees can provide feedback on new communication initiatives and test the communication channels to gauge for effectiveness. So whenever, you know, I mean, you also have to let them know that you're doing something about these, I mean, whatever feedback you get, you know, from giving them what's it called, from acting on them. It's not just getting the feedback and not doing anything about it. From acting on this feedback, will let them know that they're being heard, and whatever it is they've complained about is being duly addressed. Okay, so we have can you move on to the next slide, please, which is conclusion. Okay, emphasize aligning all communication efforts with organizations' strategic goals. Encourage active participation from all levels of organization to enhance communication efforts. Highlight the commitment to continuous improvement and excellence in strategic communications. By going ahead into these areas, you can develop a comprehensive strategic communications plan that effectively supports and advances your organization's objectives, ensuring coherent and impactful messaging aligned with the broader overall mission of the organization. Okay, so this is just giving us like a recap of everything we have discussed from developing the communications strategy, measuring the impact and all of that, up until, you know, adjusting tactics. I mean, up until adjusting tactics. So now, by the time we have aligned all communication efforts, for example, if the organizational goal is to increase brand awareness, we have to ensure that all communication efforts are geared towards achieving that objective. So encourage activation, to encourage active participation from all levels of the organization to enhance communication efforts. You have to, you know, always invite and be open to input and feedback from employees across different departments. Nobody is too small in the organization, to ensure that their perspectives are considered in the communications plan. By making them feel like, you know, they are one, will make them feel part of the team and want to also contribute into the growth of the organization. Recognize and celebrate successful communication initiatives and communicate when organization achieves excellence. So with that, I'm saying if things go right with the communication strategy, it is a win for the whole organization. So you have to be able to recognize and then celebrate, communicate to the team in the organization, to let them know that we have achieved success or we have achieved excellence in this particular area, so that they can all, you know, it shouldn't be just the high level management that gets this information. It should actually trickle down as well, so that everybody is informed and they feel like they were part, or rather they know, not feel, that they were part, they contributed to the success of communication. Now, I'll end with this. A true leader does not separate himself from his team. Each employee is an important player in the overall picture of success. So it is important to understand everyone's strengths and be able to build communication within the company. By clearly understanding the company's journey and what its strategic goals are, we can better determine what communication steps will help us achieve these goals. Individually, we can contribute to the process, even through things as little as, you know, suggestions and ideas. If that is what one can provide, that is definitely something to improve the strategies of communication. It is the assessment, improvement of communication strategies with orientation to changes in the business environment and a clear focus on the communication goals that gives the best results. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wow, fantastic. Thank you for the brilliant and insightful presentation. Mamu, I got quite a number of things from that presentation, and I believe a lot of people also gained a thing or two. So thank you once again. I believe we'll be going into questions and answers. Well, before then, I'd just like to say, for me, having gone through the presentation, I can see that there is a need for understanding the mission and the vision of an organization before you can go on to prepare a communication plan. So thank you so much for that. And then most times as communicators, we always seem to forget that we must have a contingency plan just in case there is a derail or an unforeseen circumstance.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that which is the crisis management. Thank you so much once again. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So just take questions. Should we go straight to the charts first and see if you have questions, you can put them in the charts, and also you can signify by raising up the hand.
Yeah, also, I mean, because of time, if I can't take, I mean, if there are questions I may not be able to take and people still have those questions pending, it can be sent to me and then I can answer them and send them back to you, and then you can send the information to these people.
Great. So do we just take one or two?
No problem.
Okay. Do we take from the charts, or the host, are you going to let them, are you going to unmute some people to speak, or we just take from the charts?
Yeah, if anyone raises up.
It's up to Mamu. Mamu, what would you like? Should we do?
No, it's fine. I mean, whichever one is fine. You should give people.
We'll take one from the charts. Let's take one from the charts, and then one person can speak as well. So that's two. We have, I can see Timileyin raising up his hand. You have a question. I'm searching for questions. Let's take Timileyin.
Okay. Good day, everyone. I would like to ask you this very quick question. You spoke about, sending out surveys, and based on what I have seen with surveys, most people that you intend to send them to usually tend to ignore surveys. For example, myself, when I get any survey, I most usually just ignore it. So what is the best way through which you can actually send out surveys and get valuable response, and that would cut across the intended customers or stakeholders? Thank you.
Okay, so
I don't know if you
thank you, Timileyin. Okay, so yes. Okay, so in answering your question, I mentioned surveys, but is that the only way one can get feedback from for any communication that has been put out. There are other means, such as social media monitoring, right? Direct interactions to gather feedback. So it could be surveys, which I am probably one of those people too that ignores some, of these surveys. We can also, if information was sent through a channel of social media, for instance, they have a comment section where people, put in their comments. That is also feedback. That is also feedback for you. Direct interactions, where you can get to speak with people, to get, the feedback on a particular communication that has been disseminated. So there are different channels. So me saying surveys does not necessarily mean it has to be a survey online to say, oh, how well were you treated? Or, it may not be that. It could be some kind of informal interaction or a formal interaction. It could be, direct or indirect, like social monitoring in your aspect, where you send, put in comments on people's posts, under people's posts, for instance, could also be where you get feedback from. I don't know if I have answered your question, Timileyin. Hello?
I believe you have. Still there. Is off now, but I believe you have. And also, Timileyin, in the day of digital, we're in the digital age. These days, you can also just do like a digital poll or survey to get where you get to vote, either yes or no on a particular brand, or you could just do that as well. I think that would have helped you with the question you've asked, and she has answered brilliantly well. So I see Isoboye Afanya says silence could also be a strategy in communication. I'm yet to see any question though. Okay, maybe we'll just take one more person who has raised up their hand, and that is Happiness Odi. And that will be it for the questions. So can I
really address the silence could also be a form of, did you say silence could be a form of what? Communication?
Yes, so silence could also be a form of communication.
Yes, silence could be a form of communication. Now, this silence could be that you have achieved your goal, or it could also be that, okay, we're waiting to see what. No, I need to actually be clear. Silence from which end? Silence from the organization or silence from the audience?
Okay, great. That makes sense. That works. So can we have Happiness Odi?
Okay, good afternoon. I wouldn't say I have a question. I just I don't know if it's permitted for me to weigh in into Timileyin's question, right?
Oh,
about
please,
yes, about the survey thing. Okay, so I think when people I'm just thinking, right, when people ignore survey, I think most times is probably the survey questions are very cumbersome, probably that just much. It takes a lot of time to respond to the question, so they just dump it. Then secondly, I feel if before, or rather if they have been filling the survey questions and they have been airing their pain points, and this pain point have not been addressed, or nothing has been done about it, I think it tends to discourage people from having to fill subsequent survey. So just as our lecturer mentioned, right, that actually other means, but when dealing with so I mean a large number of people, and it's seeming like survey is seeming the best option, I think it's okay to have a look at what the challenge is, just to reinforce it. So majorly, I think it's tied to maybe that pain point not being addressed, and probably the questions are cumbersome. I'm just thinking. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, do we have any other question?
I think that's about it. I have no questions in the chat I've been looking for, but they seem to be loving your final words where you say a true leader does not separate
Yes.
himself from his team.
Mhm. Yes.
So great, excellent.
At the end of the day, the people make the organization. You can't do anything
Exactly.
without the people.
Exactly. Well, with that, so there are no more questions. I would just like to say thank you for a brilliant presentation, Mamu. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for
very
your time.
much. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hello, Belle, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, there is a question on the chat box from Olukayode Akintobi. He
Where
said,
is it?
what are the steps? I can see it from my end.
Okay.
He said, what are the steps to create a contingency plan in communication? Like, what are the steps to
What are the
create a
steps to
contingency
create a
plan?
contingency plan? Okay.
That is still under crisis management.
Crisis management.
So that is I believe you share the slide for all the participants. But I mean, the steps are basically to ensure that you have you've planned yourself already to ensure that whatever crisis that comes out, you're able to manage them. You already have the people with their responsibilities laid to them already, and they know what to do at exactly what time to do to send out information, like what I earlier said, you know, when you develop a crisis communications plan for any scenario, right? You have to outline the steps on your own end. What kind of messages are we going to send out? How are we going to send it? Who is going to be responsible for what? Who is going to be sending this message at what time? And what channel is the person going to be using? Who is going, you know, you have to be able to delegate all these responsibilities to maybe you designate team members, you know, responsible for media relations or internal communications, you know, to be able to manage the crisis during that time. So those are the steps. I mean, it's an internal thing. You have to already have them down. You should have planned them down already, so that you already have what to do and what not to do, and what timeline, what time to put them out. You should have a timeline. Those are the steps, basically.
Great. Thank you for that. I hope that answers your question. And that question is from, I didn't quite get, okay, I can see it now. Olukayode Akintobi. Would you still want to take one more question, or we're done for the day? Let's see.
Let's see if we can.
More.
Okay.
Just take one more. Hold on, I'm checking. I saw one where the person asked that what happens when a colleague, when it missed the deadline. Okay, this is it. What will you suggest as the best method to communicate with co-workers when they seem to forget and not act on objectives as at when required?
Okay, so we're talking about internal organization, right? Inside the... Yes, internal. We're talking about employees now.
From Segun Adeniran, it says, what will you suggest as the best method to communicate with co-workers when they seem to forget and not act on objectives as at when required? Maybe set objectives and you're meant to meet a target. Maybe are you talking about deadlines?
Is he on? Is he on at the moment?
It's in the chat,
maybe actually. Maybe he can give us like a clearer scenario.
That.
Is he, you want to find out if he's there?
Segun Adeniran, are you on? Would you like to speak? Well, I guess we have to skip that. Okay. But we have two other people with their hands raised. You want to go ahead?
Yeah, I can answer that. It's just that it's a very broad question. You know, it could be answered in different ways.
Okay.
Knowing the exact scenario of, I mean, we need to know what objective we're talking about.
Exactly.
We need to know exactly what's, so that we can address properly. But if we're talking about maybe you have like a KPI or something, right, in an organization, you already have your task, your roles and responsibilities, and you fail to do them, you know, on time. I believe that's where the disciplinary metrics comes in. I mean, and when you go into an organization, you know, from the onboarding process, you're already giving like an employee handbook where all this, the metrics for defaulting on such areas are stated. Even in your letter, it's stated there that, you know, I mean, there'll be a part of the letter where information is properly communicated to you. So now, using the employee handbook, for instance, you already have your metrics for disciplinary actions. If something is not done, this is the consequences for that action. This, you know, so I believe, you know, that should already, I mean, in a structured organization, that should, you know, HR can just go there and just see what's the right consequences for that particular ball drop.
Great, great. So,
yeah.
In conclusion, what you're saying is that there are metrics, there are already metrics to handle defaulters.
Yes.
Okay, great, great.
But it would have been best to know, you know, exactly what specific, so that, you know, I can address properly. But that's just giving like a
I get
broad
you.
overview. Yeah.
Yeah, which is good enough, I'm afraid that's all time will allow us to take today. It's been a very insightful and interesting presentation, and Mamu, you have done brilliantly well. I just want to say thank you again for your time and bringing us through this presentation and through this event. Thank you so much once more.
Thank you very much for having me as well. Have a nice rest of the day.
For you too. I believe we'll not invite Mr. Ido Adeleke to speak on RBSN programs. Would that be next?
Yeah. Mr. Ido, are you here?
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Sincere appreciation to the speaker, although I think she's off the section already, and to you, Madam, the moderator, for moderating the section and being able to manage the time appropriately. My name is Idowu Adeleke. I work in the admissions department of Rome Business School. I'm one of the key accounts managers. So I'm here to speak briefly about the institution and its master's programs and the opportunities that are there for our prospects. Okay, so this is one of the webinars in the series of webinars for the Business Leadership Development Program. This is in one of our ways of engaging our prospects and then the students also to be part of the values, the extra values that come with enrolling into any of the different master's programs that we have. Okay, so for the prospects on this call, you're yet to send in your documents for evaluation, which is one of the stages of the admission process. There's an opportunity for you to reach out to your admission advisor and get that done. For those of you that already have an offer from the school, and maybe the timeline has elapsed or it's about to elapse, it's also a very good opportunity for you to make your commitments and complete your documentation with the school. Okay, and it's also very important I state on this call some very unique dates in the coming weeks. Okay, so the 28th of June, 2024 is the deadline on any offer to enjoy the partial scholarship. Okay, just so if you're not aware, if you have an offer already and you're yet to secure the offer, an offer and it comes with the scholarship, you have between now and the 28th of this month to secure that offer. That's one. Then on the 5th and the 6th of July 2024 is our career fair. So the virtual one will be on the 5th, that's the Friday, and the physical one will be at Providence Hotel on the 6th of July. That's the very first Saturday in the month of July. So you're all invited. It's going to be a very wonderful time. We'll be having 2 sections on that day, discussing global trends in business and then business strategies, okay? So thank you so much for your time. Thank you to the audience for being here, and then do have a wonderful day ahead.
Thank you very much. On a final note from me, I would like to say as communicators, we must always practice continuous improvement for excellence in strategic communications, because we are for best practices. So we must always practice continuous improvement. So right now, I'd like to hand over to or introduce to you Chiamaka Ajurichi for the final closing remark. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who has joined in. Thanks one more time. Have a great day.
All right, thank you so much, Belle. Thank you, Idowu. And I would also like to thank Mamu in absentia for joining this session today. And I would also like to say a big thank you to our participants, everyone that is in this call. Thank you so much for joining and for staying put till the end of this session. So briefly, I would like to announce that Mamo is on LinkedIn. For some persons that still have questions to ask, Mamu is on LinkedIn as Mamu Okoloko. So you can reach out to her. You can connect with her as well. Then Ayo is also on LinkedIn as Ayo Bozi, right? I hope I didn't pronounce this wrongly.
Ayo, you got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, she's on LinkedIn as Ayokosi Bell Obaseki. So you can also connect with her. She's our soon-to-be alumni. She's a communication specialist as well. She's graduating soon from Rome Business School, Nigeria. So for some of us that are here too, she's our alumni. So you can do well to connect with her. And also you can do well to connect with Idowu. He's also on LinkedIn as Idowu Adeleke. For some of you that also have questions, especially prospects on this call, you can connect with him and reach out to him as well. So I would also like to thank our back-end staff, the people that are moderating this session back-end, Sam, Apariogun, Francis in absentia. They have really tried for us to organize this section. I'd like to say a big thank you to them. And on behalf of the Dean, Professor Agusa, and every other staff in Rome Business School, and in Career Service Department, our Director of Career Service, Ms. Sarah Ugo, Justina, Victor, would like to say a big thank you. And for some of you that have not filled the survey and you are requesting for the slide, please do well to fill the survey with your correct email address. Ibukun, please fill the survey with your correct email address. We would actually send the slide to you as well as the recording. Thank you so much for joining, and have a very nice day ahead. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.